can you tell me how the environment that you grew up in influenced you to make music and where that was?
Yeah, I grew up in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley,
Right.
and was um, was always surrounded by a lot of support and enabling from my parents and my grandmother as well. Um, my mom's brother is a professional musician,
Right.
and he and I are the only ones in the family who really seem to exhibit this musical gift. And so I think they recognize that in me at a very young age. And so, uh, as the story goes, right after I was born, the nurses thought maybe I was moaning out of discomfort,
Right.
and they were checking my vitals and things. And my grandmother was kind of sitting back. She said, "I think that he's humming." And the doctor came in and was like, "Yeah, he's humming." So,
Wow.
so they recognized very early on that music was going to be a part of my life, and I
Wow.
was always supported by them.
Yeah. So you were literally singing pretty much as you were born.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, like, was I singing in the womb? Like it seems like it was that natural.
So you said your was it your brother,
Uncle, my uncle, my mom's brother.
your mum's brother, yeah, who's a professional musician as well.
Yes, he's a drummer
Okay.
in this
Is he a session musician or does he play in any bands or anything?
session musician. He's toured with like Billy Idol back in the day. And he's on a lot of film soundtracks.
Yeah.
He does hand percussion. So there's probably a few films you've heard him drumming on. His name is Greg Ellis.
Growing up, like what inspired you, I guess, to start making music? I mean, it does sound like you were a natural from birth, from what you just said.
Yeah, I don't necessarily remember any catalyst moment
Right.
that 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 shook me. It was always a natural part of my existence. So I was always singing to myself. Um, I requested a little tape recorder very early on so I could capture ideas as they came to me. And then just lots of influences from grunge music to musicals.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you that actually. Influences in a second, but that what you just said about the you had like a memo thing
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
to
That I would keep by my bed, and if if something came to me in a dream or throughout the day, I would at least have an opportunity to capture it.
yeah,
Because if I didn't capture it, it would fly away and be gone forever. And
yeah.
so that's
That
an
makes.
exercise I still practice to this day.
Can you think of like a standout idea that came to you like in your kind of former years or one of the first ideas that you had on that
Well, I know kind of what is regarded as my first song, which was when I was, I think, 3 or 4 years old. We were on a family trip, driving through like southwestern United States to the Grand Canyon and
Mhm.
up through Colorado and all that. And I sang the entire time a little song. Do you want to hear this short little song?
Of course, yeah. I would absolutely love to. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it goes, "My name is Emerald and I live next door. I swim and I swim on the ocean floor. The button goes bang and the bee goes buzz. I can't take it any longer with the bugs." And then I'd
Uh,
restart that. My name is Emerald, and my poor brother had to deal with me singing that for 4,000 miles.
yeah, that's hilarious. No, that's brilliant. And what age were you when you your first song? You know,
I think we took that trip maybe in the summer of 1990, which would put me at like 3.5 years old, almost 4.
so who are your biggest influences, first of
I
all?
would say, yeah, I call my like holy trio um Radiohead, Bjork, and Jeff Buckley.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Um, but very much of an influence in there is musicals, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Les Miserables, these
Yeah.
kinds of shows. Classical music, Vivaldi was a big influence early on. Um, in my more adult life, Ravel and Debussy, Chopin, those are all French guys.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, lots of influences. I'm an amalgam of many influences come together.
Yeah, that's quite an eclectic mix of influences for sure. I I mean, yeah, I love talking to people that have eclectic tastes and influences because um I think there needs to be more of that, I guess, in music.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like music can stagnate. It goes through periods of stagnation,
Mm,
and I think, you know, perhaps smugly, I think that the 2000s and 2010s were definitely uh, a slow pace in the progression of music,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it feels like things are kind of picking up again in an exciting way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I would somewhat agree with you there. I kind of know what you mean about the last kind of 2 decades, music wise, because the 90s was so good, right? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and then you had,
particularly in pop music is what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, because like pop music in the 90s, I really kind of respected, and not so much nowadays. But then you had, genres coming through and new scenes being created, like hip hop and that kind of started in the 80s, but it really came into its own, I think, in the 90s, and then rock genres like grunge and new metal and all of that. So yeah, it was such an exciting time. What usually inspires your music, if you had to kind of summarize an inspiration for most of your music?
so I have an answer that's hopefully not disappointing, but I feel like the inspiration comes from this unexplainable ether. There's never necessarily one um mo I mean, I guess sometimes if I hear something or see something, it will spark an idea, but for the most part, the ideas come when I'm doing a mundane task, like driving my car or taking a shower or cleaning the dishes.
Mm,
These things where it seems like my left brain, my analytical side is just kind of like taken care of, and it leaves my right brain total freedom to flow.
yeah,
And um and I find that it's best for me to let those moments happen rather than seek them out necessarily.
they just come to you. The inspiration just comes to you while you're doing the dishes.
Right. And I think everybody has that potential
Hmm.
in whatever it is, whatever form the inspiration comes. For you, it seems to be writing. Um, and it's just it's important for us to capture those ideas when they come. Otherwise, they'll fly away and find someone else.
Yeah, yeah. You write both lyrics and instrumentation too, don't you? Like,
For the most part,
yeah,
yeah, I've done some collaborations as well.
Okay.
some with both music and lyrics, some with just lyrics, some just music. Uh, so, but for the most part, yeah, I'm kind of doing both.
Both things. And what are some like standout collaborations that you can think of with your songwriting?
Well, sort of my big claim to fame one is the platinum record I have on my wall
Wow.
for um I co-wrote a song with Lana Del Rey on her
Nice.
album Ultraviolence. Um and also worked on that album in other ways, but yeah, because of that collaboration, I earned myself my first platinum record.
Yeah.
The only one so far.
And what types of music do you make on the whole? What kind of genres do you touch on, would you say?
Yeah, that's been a hard question for myself and other people who have heard my music, because each of my songs kind of has its own flavor. Um, the best description I've come up with, my niche genre is um, neoclassical alternative indie rock.
Oh, okay. Neoclassical alternative indie rock.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice mix. Your latest single was The Mountain That Turned Upside Down, right?
So, my latest one was actually a song called So Says the Sound,
Right.
um, which I'm releasing one song every 5 weeks. And
Okay.
so The Mountain That Turned Upside Down came out at the beginning of December.
Right.
So Says the Sound came out at the beginning of January, and I'm actually about to release my next one on Friday, 9th.
February 9th, and it's called
The Worst Is Over.
The Worst Is Over. Well, I hope that's true in terms of, the world, not your music.
I think the irony of the song is that it doesn't necessarily it gives the idea that it is, but there's never a knowing. We always need to leave open the possibility that
Yeah.
uh there's another worst.
So everyone should go and check that out and see what they think about that. In terms of let's go back to your single, The Mountain um that
That
turned
turned up
upside down.
down.
Yeah, the mountain that
Yes.
turned upside down. What was the biggest challenge in writing and creating that single, The Mountain That Turned Upside Down, and how did you deal with that challenge, if so?
Um, well, one of the biggest challenges is actually the recording of the song.
Hmm.
Um, this song ironically became the biggest mountain that we had to climb up and over to finish
Right.
on this album. I believe we remixed the song 6 times before we finally landed on the version that we put out.
Okay.
Um, because what we recorded a lot of instruments and orchestration, but all of it playing at once was too much. And so we really needed to notch it out and figure out how best to bring it to life in the most accurate, enjoyable way.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that was it. It took well over a year before we finally were happy with how it sounded.
So it was kind of the mixing of it, I guess.
The
Is that what you?
mixing,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because this was one where the music came fairly effortlessly. I worked with a lyricist on this one named
Right.
Adam Tressler,
Okay.
who really brought the song to life brilliantly. And then yeah, then the biggest holdup was in the recording and mixing of the song.
Yeah. Okay, the kind of technical sides to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you were happy with it eventually.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out. And actually, to be fair, I actually was happy with many of the other mixes, but I had other people's influences saying, no, it doesn't feel like it's quite there. And I listened to them, and it was even mixed a few more times after the mix that we released. But I was finally like, everybody stop. I like this one the best. This is what we're going with.
But the single that came out after that, remind me of the name of that one.
It's called So Says the Sound.
So Says the Sound, that was released in January. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And So Says the Sound. Interesting name. What's the story behind that name?
Um, I loved the essiness of it. That it sounds like the wind going through the leaves. And I mean, the inspiration for the song is because of a relationship with a an older whose ex-partner tried to interfere with what was developing between us. And I'm basically saying in the song, like, stay out of it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So Says the Sound. It is very essy. Yeah.
It's very essy.
Yeah. Can you kind of talk us through the different stages of the songwriting process for So Says the Sound, um,
Sure.
from start to finish almost?
Yeah. So another big influence on me and my music is world music.
Right.
And I spent a bit of time in Ghana in West Africa,
Yeah.
uh, studying the drumming and singing there. And so that particular influence, that 6/8 timing, is was very much an influence on this song. Um, and so that was the musical part. The
Very interesting. Yeah.
um, the lyrics came because I was in a band uh, with my friend Dave, who had an ex-girlfriend who he told me flat out, you may not pursue this girl. And it was a very strange request, but I listened. Except when the two of us met, there was just an immediate connection, like
Oh,
deep,
right.
profound connection.
Oh, okay.
And and when they were officially broken up for some time, she and I sort of pursued each other.
Yeah.
And he really tried to interfere, saying, I told you not to pursue this one. Why couldn't you listen to me? And so my lyrics in the song, the chorus, I say, I assure you I'm sane enough to keep her safe from herself. But the fact of the matter is, what happens on Saturdays not up to you because it isn't about you.
Yeah.
um, and so one of the things I say to keep her safe from herself is that she has dealt with her own uh, mental health, um, roller coaster,
Yeah.
myself included. Um, and I was trying to let him know um, that I got this, I can handle her,
Yeah.
and you can stay out of this.
Right.
Um,
If you could pick like one set of line of lyrics from this track that mean the most to you, which would they be? Which lyrics would they be from this release that mean the most?
uh, from this song in particular, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I like the lyric, stepping on old light bulbs with the ease of a bee. Move along, settle down. The past is gone, so says the sound. Just this idea that, trying to, I was sick of trying to walk quietly around the um, the potential of uh, a relationship, and um, was basically admitting that like this your past doesn't need to influence my future.
What do you think are the main benefits of being an independent artist when it comes to songwriting in particular?
Yeah, I think having complete creative control
Mm.
is a huge benefit. Um, not having suits breathing down your neck that this is the kind of music that sells, you need to sound like this. Um, that kind of influence can create less authentic music. There's some people who can really still thrive in that. Um, I've found that I'm not so much one of those people.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, when it comes to songwriting, I'd say that's sort of the biggest benefit of being an independent artist for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear that from a lot of independent artists, and it's obviously a massive deal. Uh, the creative freedom. I mean, you're making music, so if you want to make proper authentic music, you need that really.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And what effect does being independent have on other aspects of uh, making music other than songwriting?
One drawback of being independent is so far the lack of income it's been providing.
Yeah.
um,
Is that the
um,
only drawback, or can you think of any kind of disadvantages, I guess?
it's taking a lot of effort for me to be discovering my audience.
Mm.
Um, there are algorithms out there that sort of randomly select people to highlight, and and
Yeah.
my numbers are growing, but I think record labels have access to the music supervisors who can place the music in film and TV,
Mm.
and um, and the marketing to promote to radio stations, playlists,
Yeah.
these kinds of things to get the music out there. So that's um, does that contribute to my songwriting? Uh, I don't know. Perhaps there'll be a song that comes out of that experience, but it's
Can you think of like a particular tool that is great that you like almost can't live without as an independent artist, or even just as an artist in generally?
well, I suppose my instrument,
Yeah.
not only my voice, but I also play the piano,
Okay.
which is uh has I think, like a chef, you need to have the right knives in your kitchen in order to be able to cook the best food. I
Yeah.
think if I didn't have my piano or my keyboard near me, then a lot of these ideas would only live in my voice, and I'd have to express them to other people.
So the keyboard and the piano is where you feel it sounds like you feel kind of most at home when it comes to expressing your ideas, creative ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that that becomes the foundation for a musical idea. When you talk about music, it's melodies and harmony. And with only a voice, you it I can mainly only create melodies.
Yeah.
Uh, as soon as the piano gets involved, it really brings the entire musical concept to life.
What I mean, you've told me that you're releasing a song every 5 weeks at the moment. So do you plan on doing that for the foreseeable, or?
So yeah, that's for this first album. This is my debut album I'm releasing, which it's taken me 37 years to finally release to the world. I've been hoarding my music.
Yeah,
I've been playing a lot, but as far as putting out recordings, I've been hoarding this
yeah.
music. So the final release of this 10-song album is on May 24th.
Okay,
Um, and I've now started talks with my co-producer about our second album.
nice.
I don't imagine that's going to be released, or that's going to continue the 5-week intervals. I'll probably give some space between that and the next one.
Yeah,
But I'm also releasing music videos to go along with trying to do it for every one of my songs. As of now, I will have, well, at the end of the album release cycle, I will have, I think 7 or 8 of the 10 songs with music videos.
We are observers and we'll follow the sun. The sun will save us before the world is green. The world is blue, rivers and waterfalls float into the oceans. The moon and earth go back and forth, and soon every molecule made peace with the tides opportune. We are the watchers.
Then yeah, just really moving forward with gigging, trying to find opening spots with bigger artists,
yeah.
trying to find some placements in film and TV, and just really like working working really hard on making this work for myself.
You know, you've got the album, you're dropping singles, obviously, and then you've got the album, the full album will be fully released on May, what was the date?
24th.
May 24th. So that's the main thing you've got coming this year. But then your future goals are you're already in talks for a second album.
Yeah, I basically got a second album written. It just needs to be, well, and 5 of the songs produced, so just need to finish producing the rest of them, and then also a third album in the works. Another thing that's interesting right now, I am making a documentary with a filmmaker friend of mine who directed one of my music videos for a song called We Are the Watchers.
Right.
But we're making a documentary that's it's about finding inspiration from this small town in northern Washington state, this little town called Index, and basically finding inspiration from each of my brief interactions with the people I've met up there,
Yeah.
and working to create an entire album from that as well.
Wow. Okay. So you've got a lot coming in the pipeline then,
Absolutely.
in terms of releases, and then yeah, you're still just cracking the gig scene by the sounds of it.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, all the best of luck, Robbie, with that. And you know, well done for everything you've done so far. And we'll put links and everything to all of Robbie's stuff that he's just mentioned or that's been released below.